You're listening to Live Wild Radio, the part-time adventure podcast.
Join us as we explore how outdoor adventures build mind, body, and spirit.
When it comes to podcasts, there's certain things that we all expect. And one of them is ads at the beginning. So our favorite sponsor is Great Lakes Gear, which is where we get all of our fitness equipment. And, you know, we regularly talk about our home gym. In fact, we're sitting right next to it. We just used it. We did the most ass-kicking workout tonight. We call it Death by Carries. And it's really, really simple. Set a timer for half an hour and do a loaded carry, whatever variation you want, right? We were doing suitcase carries and farmer's walks.
Waiter carries.
Yeah, waiter's walks, rack carries where you've got the kettlebell up like you're about to press it. And so we did it inside because it's kind of shitty outside right now. And so basically 2 laps of the house on one arm, 2 laps with the other arm, and then a set of push-ups. And then you do a different carry, and you just keep rotating through that till the half an hour's done. We got 11 rounds in. And super simple, but super effective workout. And we couldn't have done it if we didn't have kettlebells from Great Lakes Gear. So for our listeners, if you want some equipment at home, and we think the kettlebell happens to be the most versatile piece of training equipment, super portable because you can toss it in the trunk of your car if you're going somewhere, you know, carry it to the park in a loaded carry, do some work in the park, like some sprints or something like that, do a bunch of kettlebell swings, do some presses, and then carry it home. You know, we've done that before too. So all that works to make for, you know, super functional, effective, time-efficient fitness training at a really good price. And, you know, when you go to greatlakesgear.com or us.greatlakesgear.com for our American listeners, and, you know, you pick whatever you want to buy, whether it's barbells, dumbbells, kettlebells, pull-up bars, all that kind of jazz. And then you use promo code LIVEWILD, all capitals. You'll get 5% off your order. It's 5%, right?
Yeah.
5%, yeah. And that thing is you save money, and then they send us a little bit for sending you along. It's like win-win for everybody. So, you know, go to Great Lakes Gear, GIRYA, which is Russian for kettlebell.com, and get your fitness equipment today, because this is the new year. And at some point, we're going to have to stop with the COVID-15 excuse. It's COVID, so, you know, I couldn't work out. That excuse is over now. So take this as an opportunity to set up a killer home gym, even if it just means a couple of kettlebells and a pull-up bar. That's all anybody needs, you know, to get in amazing shape. So it segues beautifully into this episode, which is our 2021, you know, year in review, if we want to call it. Looking back at, like, you know, what the year was like for us, our lessons learned, how we did with our own goals. So let's kick it off, Catherine.
Yeah. No, it was an interesting year. If I had to pick a theme, for me, it was training. I mean, we've talked about it quite a bit, but there were a lot of surprises in it. And, you know, it all started off with a year ago, or in November, right, of, I guess, 2020. And, you know, I was 194. I'm like, I need to do something here. And I had just come off of all these workshops I'd done with the DeRose Institute for Mindfulness. And one thing that I knew I wanted for sure was better health. And so I lost 20, 25 pounds. And, and I kind of look at it now like, I can't believe I did it. But I did. And I never focused so much on the number. I focused really on the journey, like just how to get there. And I had a bunch of challenges along the way. And that was quite a bit of an eye opener for me, because I have not been this weight.
Since you were a teenager.
Yeah. And so many times I've been at the 190, in the 190s several times. And so that felt like home. But to go beyond that was almost like a dream, and I'm still working now to get to 150s, in the 150s, right, this year. And I think it's very possible. Why not? But that kind of surprised me. And not only that, but what surprised me was all the agility that came with it. Now when I climb, it was so cool. You're lowering yourself off of the climb with control.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, because really what you're seeing is a culmination of 5 years of work coming together, right? Mm-hmm. Because we did a lot of training that built a lot of muscle mass on you, which won't see the scale to go down a lot because, you lost body fat because you looked more muscular.
Yeah.
Right? You didn't look at, like your arms and things look better. But the scale still didn't go down a ton. Like, we shouldn't say that. You dropped like 35 pounds, right?
What this year?
No, not this year, but up to this point, right? Like you started in the 230s and you were down in the 190s.
Got it. Oh, okay. At that point, yeah.
Yeah.
So more than 30. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's not like you didn't drop any weight.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things that we run into is when you build muscle mass, you increase your metabolism, right? Even if in the short term the scale doesn't go down, you look different.
Yeah, that happened a couple times where, the scale wasn't going down, but everyone's like, you're looking different, and you notice that, and and it's pretty cool. It's interesting, and it was interesting how it was like a snowball effect. The momentum was there. Mm-hmm. Everything just happened so quickly all of a sudden, where it's been years to get to this point. And, when so I'm probably, they say at the high 150s, or let's say 155 is my maximum ideal weight in the healthy range, right? Anything over that, it's obese. So I'm still considered.
No, it's overweight, not obese.
Okay. Sorry. I'm considered overweight now, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in that overweight category, I mean, if you're muscular, right? Because that obviously carries weight.
Yeah.
You start to see all those details pop out.
Yeah.
Like I have biceps and traps and all the details of the muscles connecting to my delts, and you can see all the ridges, and I was just showing Winston my pecs, and like, not my boobs, my pecs. Unfortunately, I think I've lost so much weight. It's like, but like when the guys do the whole flexing,
the pec flex. And
yeah. I'm like, oh my God, look at that. I can do it. Right? Yeah. I'm getting pretty muscular, but anyway, chin ups. I've never done a chin up in my life until this year.
Yep.
And then when my daughter filmed it, I didn't even think I could do it. I did it, came off of it like really shocked. It's funny. It's a bit of an easier chin up part because it's got grips.
Knurling, yeah.
Yeah, knurling, whereas it's very smooth. So on ours, I can't necessarily do it.
Yeah, ours, I like this from a training standpoint.
It's harder.
The grips are fatter.
Yeah.
And they're smooth.
Yeah, so it's a harder.
Yeah, so it's harder on the grip.
Yeah.
Easier on the skin.
Yeah. But the agility is what I notice the most, and I love it. And it makes you want to do more. And because it's so easy, you can do more.
Yeah.
And so it's, we were mountain biking like 2-3 hours at a time, and that was fun. That was by no means exercising.
Yeah.
But to get to that point is pretty sweet. I feel young, you know. So I think the lesson learned was because I remember at the beginning of the year, like, you're going to do a chin up. You said I'd do it at the end of the month. And I was like, that's bullshit.
Yeah, but then you ran into elbow problems.
Right. I don't know if I still would have been able to do it. But I'm doubting you right now.
Yeah. Well, but
training.
Yeah, because it wasn't so much the end of the month. It was like, I think we had a 2-month plan.
Was
like
it
an
2 months?
eight
I
week.
thought it was 1
Well,
month.
because I always plan programs in 8 weeks.
Oh, okay.
So, but the fact is that the pull-ups for both of us haven't come as quickly, like the improvements haven't come as quickly as they potentially could, because we'd have to ease off because of the elbows.
Right.
Like we both have tendinitis in our elbows.
Yeah.
Right. So you can't do a lot of volume of pulling
Yeah.
when your elbows are telling you to fuck off.
And I got to figure that out, because I noticed when I was bouldering the other day, coming off of it, it really affected my tendinitis.
You have the things.
Oh, those, eh? What he's referring to are those, it's like a webbing you put in between your hands and you open, it's like a rubber. And so when you open it out, it's a strength workout on your
Extensors, like forearm
on-
extensors.
Yeah.
Because climbing is the forearm flexors,
Right.
sort of the big meaty part of your
Oh,
forearm.
okay, so it's the extensors that are not.
And so when there's a lot of imbalance in the extensors, then you get that inside the elbow
Really?
pain.
Huh.
So one of the things I do at work is I have rubber bands, like thick rubber bands in my pockets.
Oh, so you just play with those?
So when I'm strolling around, seeing if there's any customers need help, I just put them around my fingers and doot 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 till I get like a massive burn, and I'll do like 3 sets a day.
Yeah.
And I found that's made a huge difference as far as the.
Yeah. Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good tip. So, definitely that's been really cool. What about you? Any interesting eye openers for you this year?
Well, I think one of the biggest things has been because I, from a training coaching standpoint, have a tendency to overcomplicate things in my own head.
Mm-hmm.
For myself, like I'm very good with my clients of keeping things no more complicated than it needs to be.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Because just working on the basics gets you 90% of the way there.
And that's probably what they need to work on.
Yeah. Right.
They're at that stage.
Where that's sort of one of the biggest things with my own training is just keep it simple, stupid.
Mm-hmm.
Nutrition, keep it simple, stupid.
I
Eat
can tell you
protein,
that.
eat vegetables.
I can remind you of that.
Well, because if you look at the program I'm doing right now,
Yeah.
I've got 2 days a week with like clean and press, like kettlebell double clean and press and pull-ups.
Yeah.
Right. 2 days a week with swings and Turkish get-ups.
Mm-hmm.
And then 1 day a week of loaded carries and push-ups.
That's cool.
It's just simple.
Yeah.
And
you just started this program?
a few weeks ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Shows how much I pay attention.
Well, it's because you're on your easy strength, so yours just
I
is
just
whenever.
fuck off. I go make dinner.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you're still warming up? I'm done.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did the death by carries today, and I got to tell you, this attitude of just like, well, let's see what happens, can get you really far, because I didn't think I'd finish it. And I thought I'd be like out of breath and winded, because I feel like I haven't done any cardio, because I haven't. Because everything I do in easy strength is just super easy.
Yeah,
strength.
except for walking.
Yeah. Anyways, I finished it,
Yeah.
and I did really well. So that was pretty cool. But anyways, back to you. You were saying that, so keeping it simple.
Yeah. Like
Stupid.
I think that's one of the big things is mastering the basics.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Just focus. Like, it was sort of one of the things that, I used to really focus on in jiu-jitsu,
Okay.
because it's so easy to get enamored with like flashy techniques. Right. Whereas, there was something really cool about beating somebody with like, just a really well done basic move. it's good to have sort of more complicated things, like more advanced or tricky moves in your pocket if you need them. But doing things like doing the basics as a master, right? They don't look like the basics anymore. So that's sort of a bit of the always a student mindset.
Yeah.
Right? Because I've been doing like lifting stuff for almost 40 years. I started when I was 12.
Right.
Right? And, I picked up my first kettlebell over 20 years ago, or about 20 years ago. And I'm still playing with like something as simple. I don't want to say simple because it's complex. But as fundamental as a kettlebell clean, I'm still refining my technique.
Yeah.
Right. Particularly double kettlebell cleans.
Oh, especially when you're doing like 65 pounds or 3 pounds in each hand. That's something.
Yeah. But it's that whole thing of like dialing in those techniques, just the subtleties of the basics. And even something like a swing, which I've done probably a gazillion of them in my lifetime. I'm still focusing on, okay, explode, hinge, plank, like bend the bell. Like if you want to engage your lats.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
When you've got both hands on the kettlebell.
Right.
Try to break the handle. Like you're snapping a twig.
Yeah.
Well, that engages your lats. Right? Just those little subtleties.
Yeah.
So that's sort of one of the big things for me. Figuring how to put the pieces for myself.
Well, when
right?
did you realize that was beneficial? Like what made you come to that?
Well, I've always known it because I practice it with my clients.
You've never applied it for yourself.
At times I have, but I think the big thing really came into during COVID, like the last 2 years, basically, I've, for lack of other things to do, I bought like a bunch of kettlebell training books, like the, workout program books from people, Jeff Newbert's books. And the fact is, like, he'll do a whole 8-week program with nothing but kettlebell snatches. Right? And it's like,
Okay. So you're seeing these over and over again that people are just doing the basics.
Yeah. Like, and I think
and
there's
keeping it simple.
Yeah. Like, I think that's over simple. Yeah. The fact is, like, one high volume ballistic exercise, the potential exists for
overuse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if people are seeing progress on things that basic, at least I can go more basic. Like I don't have to, do every movement, every training block.
Yeah.
And I don't have to train every quality optimally, every training block. And so that's where I found, mixing things like setting a timer and just getting as much done, like good quality work in that time, like density. So then next time you'll try to get some more. Then things like EMOMs where you'll do.
Oh, that was amazing. Because we didn't do that last year. That was this year, wasn't it?
No, they started the year before.
Okay.
Hell, we even did them occasionally in the gym.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the EMOMs, sorry, you finish your thought because I have a different one.
And again, it's sort of two sides of the same coin, right? With the EMOMs, it's like a set amount of work per minute. And they're not the best for building pure strength, but they're good at building work capacity, some strength, some muscle, some,
Yeah.
So, and that's sort of what really I think why they seem to be so effective is because they bring a bunch of qualities up at once.
Yeah. So what he's talking about, in case people who don't know what EMOMs are, it's every minute on the minute. So on the minute, you set your timer, say, for 10 minutes or any amount of minutes. But it beeps every minute on the minute. And when it does beep, you do your exercise, say it's 10 kettlebell swings. For the remainder of that minute, you rest and you wait until it beeps again and you start again, whatever exercise. Yeah. So that's what that is. So the idea is that you always just go. Because when you think about it, if you're in the gym and you're waiting, okay, I did 10 swings, I'll take a break now. Especially when you're working with a partner, you're working on the same, like say a barbell. You alternate back and forth. Well, you find that you do a lot of sitting, like 3 minutes can go by before you're up again and you're fully rested.
And that's a great thing for maximal strength.
Right. But here we're not doing that. We're focusing on volume and you get a shit load of volume in there. I found that I was kind of blown away, and it wasn't necessarily in 2021, but it was in November. From November to like even February, I noticed how much core strength I developed in those 3-4 months of doing very simple exercises. I mean, we did as simple as like leg raises, or legs up in the air and then just lifting your butt off the floor, doing 10 of those every minute on the minute. And I can't remember how many sets in total, but maybe 10 sets of 10 or 6.
But then you're doing 100 reps.
You are. Yeah. And you're alternating amongst other things. Right. So, another great core exercise is where you have a band tied to something and you have it outstretched in front of you. So it's almost like chest height. Yeah.
Anybody wants to look it up, you can do it also with cables in the cable machine in the gym, called the Pallof press, PALLOF. And it's an anti-rotation exercise.
Right. So it really works your obliques.
Yeah.
So check it out. Great exercises, but and then the ab wheel. Yeah. And at the beginning I couldn't do it. Now I can knock them off.
Yeah. The ab wheel is the best $10 or $15 you will spend for
abs.
Well, but it works way more than abs. Like your lats. Like when you roll that out, and you have to squeeze it in,
back. Yeah.
Right? It uses your lats. It uses your grip is involved. It's one of these very simple looking exercises that actually requires a lot of muscular coordination.
Yeah. So that really surprised me at how quickly I could tone up that area or build muscle and that with weight loss. But at the end of the day, the muscle built, and it was pretty impressive how it didn't seem like it took that much to do it. Now, the other thing that would have done a lot for it as well, I imagine, is I did the 10,000 kettlebell swing challenge.
Yeah, that was February.
Yeah, so going back to Jeff Newport's idea, or I think that's who you mentioned, where he just does one exercise. Yeah, keeping it simple.
Obviously, like the 10,000 swing challenge was Dan John.
Right.
Like Coach Dan John.
And somebody else. It's not just him. It was Coach Dan John and somebody else.
No, Easy Strength with Dan John and Pavel.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. So this is Coach Dan John, and essentially you're doing 5 workouts a week.
Yep. So 500 swings a workout plus 30 to 50 reps of an alternate exercise.
In between them, because you can't, So for me, in my case... And as long as you get them done, that's all that matters. But the way I did them was, sets of 20 kettlebell swings.
Yeah, and Dan never set it up this way originally. But when you do it as an EMOM, the way that I set it up for you, just because we were already doing EMOM, so it was really simple.
Yeah.
And it makes you just sort of go.
And you get it done.
You're not thinking, oh, did I rest enough? Not enough.
Yeah.
You just go.
You go until it tells you to stop.
Yeah. And so Catherine was doing 500 swings and then 30 to 50 reps of other exercise.
Whether it be push-ups or body rows
or ab wheel.
Ab wheel.
And ran into the thing where she would knock that off in 31 minutes.
Pretty much, yeah. And the first week was a killer week, first couple of days. And then at the end of the week, it's like you saw massive improvement. So that's a lot of fun to see that progression. And then by the end of it, I was just like...
You're just punching the clock.
I was like bored. I could have been like, I didn't progress. I did it at 35 pounds, and I did go up to 45 a little bit, but then I had a bad hand. My middle finger was telling me to fuck off because the joint was all swollen. And I actually thought I had arthritis or something going on.
Yeah, but it's sort of that thing of like,
it went away.
Yeah, but that it's working around injuries.
Yeah. So I used actually a deadlift strap, on my hand just to take the weight off. And then I think I caused issues with my left hand because I did it on that one. Anyways, so massive gains though.
Yeah.
I mean, that helped me lose 10, 12 pounds. As I said, the program or the results of the program said that you would. Gained massive fitness, right, from the explosiveness of a kettlebell swing. Your whole posterior chain was massively improved, in strength. And it was pretty cool because I, went back to say doing good mornings with, what is it, a 80 to 120 resistance band?
Yeah.
Pound resistance band. I could never do that in the past. I did the one below. I think it was 60 to 80 or something like that. And that's all I could do. I went to that and I'm like, this is easy. And I kind of looked at Winston and I do it now with 45-pound kettlebells in each hand as I do it. Because that to me is my easy strength program, by the way.
Yeah.
It's not even that hard.
Yeah.
It's work, but I can do it. Where in the past, I couldn't even do that. So take 90 pounds off. It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Like it was a massive jump. And I would say, oh yeah, like it totally built up my delts and my traps, just everything.
Yeah.
So that was fun. That was a lot of fun. Although I wonder if I had overuse injury in my calves.
Well, see, that seems to be people who have no issues, seem to like it because, all of the things you're talking about.
Yeah.
But because you're doing so much volume of the same movement pattern.
Yeah.
You can run into overuse injuries. And it's not like, obviously with you, it wasn't anything to do with your back. It was your feet.
Well, I'm actually going to get an MRI for the folks listening, the end of this month. So this is going to come out January 1st. By that time I'll have had done it. I'll be waiting for the results just to check that it's not neuropathy. They're just making sure, or a bulging disc or something.
Yeah.
And, because I'm still trying to figure that out. And you were thinking, you did some research that it might very well have been. Are you thinking that the sensation in my feet, like the loss of feeling, it could be because of tight calves?
Or weak calves.
Or weak calves.
Because everything's having to be tense all the time.
Because I also, if I was to flex my foot downwards, they cramp. Like my joints and all that get all contorted. It's kind of painful. So there's something going on. So I've been doing some calf and shin strengthening.
Yeah. Because it's sort of something with the type of
exercises
we do. Generally, it's not anything that you get worked on.
I would have thought from cycling, but I guess if I was backpacking and hiking, I'd get more of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Going up hills and stuff. But I don't.
But even then, it's not frequent enough.
Yeah.
Right.
To carry the load of everything else I'm doing.
Yeah.
So, but very cool. I mean. So that's something for folks, if you want to get motivated, right? Like put a lot of challenges in front of you and just pick something that's kind of like, it's crazy. Let's try it. And going back to I have found a ton of success from just, let's see, just that attitude of not worried about the commitment. I have to get this done. It's got to be perfect. Just try.
Yeah. And you can always adjust on the fly.
Yeah.
Right. Now the thing I would say is if you've never worked with a kettlebell before, do not do the 10,000 swing challenge.
Right.
You'd been doing swings for years.
Right. No, for me, it was more about the difficulty, not the technique.
Yeah.
But what I'm talking about is the challenge, whether it be climbing, rock climbing, or something
it's just,
that you're afraid of.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah. The only caveat I'm putting out is that during COVID, I saw so many 30-day challenges put out by fitness people.
Okay.
And so their audience seems to be aimed at, new people trying to get into And then the thing they put out was not well suited for a new person.
Well, that's good to know.
You know, like,
what would you stay away from if you're new?
well, it wouldn't do high volume daily workouts, right? Like it wouldn't, you know, like things like do 100 push-ups a day for 30 days. Well, if push-ups are hard for you, doing 100 a day, you know,
you're probably going to have bad form.
Yeah, but you're also probably going to get hurt.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's just more than your tissue can handle, you know, your joints and shoulders and what have you. So any of these challenges, I like them to be tailored to somebody's fitness level. Because the idea of doing something every day for 30 days is a great thing to develop a habit with. Right. But, you know, I also want people to not be in massive pain or get injured. So, because we know consistency over the long term is the key. Right. So people that are injured don't tend to stay consistent. Right. Little niggles like we deal with, you can work around. Right. But if you've got like real, like, you know, an injury that sidelines you, that is going to put you on the bench for a while.
And it sucks.
Yeah. But whatever consistency you'd had is out the window.
It is.
Right. So I would much rather have people play the slow and steady race.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like even, so what I would love to see is like, let's say you're capable of doing 5 good push-ups. Right. Then I would do like kind of a rotational thing if we want something to do at home as far as a challenge, or maybe in addition to whatever you're doing already.
Yeah.
Is, you know, throughout the day, like if you can do 5 good ones, I want 10 sets of 3 throughout the day. Right. And then, you know, that's 3 days a week. Another 3 days a week would be, you know, get 100 body weight lunges in. You know, they shouldn't be super taxing, split it up over the day. And then, you know, and if you do this as a weekly cycle, there we go. We've got 6 days. The 7th day, I would do, you know, 10 minutes bear crawls. Well, that's something, that rotation somebody could do for 30 days in a row. And it's within their capability.
Yeah.
It'll be a challenge. It'll start to develop some new habits.
Sure it will. Which is good.
You know, it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
You know, but submaximal work. Because if you're going to do a lot of anything, it can't be brutally hard. Because brutally hard necessitates keeping your reps low.
So that's what I'm experiencing with the Dan John and Pavel's Easy Strength.
Yeah. Satsuline.
Satsuline?
Satsuline.
Satsuli.
He's lean.
Satsuline.
Yeah, he's Russian.
Satsuline.
And it starts with a T. It's TSAT, you know, blah, blah.
So I'm doing their Easy Strength program, and I'm almost done it. Pretty cool gains. Like I work out 5 days a week, no more than 10, 12 minutes. So it's super easy. And I have like generally four or 5 exercises that I'm doing 10 reps of each, but I break it up. Like I might do like 3, my chin-ups are like 3 sets of 3, so it's not exactly 10, but yeah,
it's that ballpark.
Yeah. Now the swings are always more than 10. It's probably double.
Yeah.
Like 2 sets of 10 in total.
Yeah.
Or 20, like it's 20 in total. I'll do push-ups, so break it up in 2 sets of 5. I'll do squats, goblet squats, so 2 sets of 5. And I'm using the 65-pound kettlebell for my squats. I think initially I started off with probably 45, 50.
Yeah.
So that's a big jump. And I remember when I first did it, I didn't even realize what I had in my hand, you know? And I have my bear canister for you backpackers, what I have to get my butt to touch so I get deep enough.
Yeah.
because I don't, and it takes me a while to get into that. I actually have to warm up first without the weights. And I could just keep going lower and lower, just get going because I'm a 46-year-old and I gotta get
well, with you, it's the knees.
Yeah, it's the knees. The other really cool thing were the chin-ups because I've been using resistance bands to support me, and I was using, I think, the 80 to 120, and then I switched to the 60 to 80, or is it, what is it, the black band?
It's the 40 to 60.
40 to 60, so that's pretty cool. Yeah, sorry, the first one I was using was 80 to 100, I think, or 60 to 80.
Yeah.
It was the really thick band. Now I use the black band. And who knows, maybe in 2 weeks I'll be down to the red band, which would be what, 20 to 40?
Yeah, something
pounds,
like that.
Something like that, off my weight. And, so it's progressing nicely. My push-ups look solid. I feel like how can I make that harder? I guess I could use a band.
You can use bands. You
put
can
on a weighted vest.
Weighted vest. You can pause at the bottom, like with your nose just over.
Actually, I could go lower because I've been using a ball.
Yeah.
To touch my chest. So, yeah, it's pretty cool. So going back to Winston's point about just all these little submaximal exercises, right? But if you do high volume of them, you will see gains.
Yeah.
I have.
Yeah, because really what we're talking about is either doing and this sort of comes from Pavel, is strength is a skill, right? So you're not working out, you're practicing. And that I find to be highly a beneficial mindset, right? Because not everything has to be like feel the burn and, if you just steadily work on the skill component,
yeah,
right, and just practice regularly, you get stronger. And, so it's one of those things where one of my simplest things is I'll do an EMOM. Like when I go to a new weight with kettlebells, I'll just do a 10-minute EMOM of 1 rep a minute, like with the heaviest weight, right? And then when I get through, it's like I can do 10 sets of 1. I do that for a couple weeks. And then I'll do a few sets of 2, right? And they should still be, challenging, but still doable.
Yeah.
Right? You never want to hit failure. And then the rest are 1s until, a couple weeks later, you're doing 10 sets of 2. Well, now you've doubled your volume with the same weight, and then a few weeks later, you're doing 10 sets of 3. It's one of those things where it doesn't take long before the weight that you could only do for like 1 or 2 reps, is a weight that you're doing, 5 to 8 reps. And then you do a bunch of sets of 5 to 8 reps before you know it. Now you're starting to get into the rep range and volume necessary to build some muscle.
Well, this is a great segue. I thought this was really cool, and I really came to realize this, was that when it comes to strength training, there's specific exercises to build muscle. Okay? You're building more muscle in your body. Doesn't mean you know how to access it yet.
Yeah.
So that's what he's talking about with where muscles or strength is a skill. Then there's so building muscle, and then there's building strength. And then what's the third thing? Is it endurance with muscle?
Yeah.
Okay. So I thought that was really cool. So certain exercises. So what builds muscle? Is that volume? Work?
Volume. Yeah, really. Like when you look at all the research, because you can build muscle at all rep ranges.
Okay.
Like sets of 3, sets of 8, sets of 25.
Right.
As long as there's adequate amount of volume, and you come with the higher rep stuff, you come close enough to failure. Doesn't have to be to failure, but within a couple reps of failure.
Couple reps. Okay,
right?
So that will build muscle. Again, just because you've now built the muscle, you're not necessarily accessing the strength. So now you've got to build the skill on accessing the strength to get everything working together. Is that correct?
Well, or you can, like, because they sort of go together, because if also you're doing a ton of reps,
Okay.
you're building the skill too.
Yeah.
Right. So, like if you're mindful of your reps, like say doing something like a kettlebell press,
Right.
right? You've got it in the rack position at your shoulder, about to press it overhead, and you squeeze your quads, you engage your glutes, you tighten your abs, you take a good breath in, behind your shield, right, which is your belly, and then you crush the handle of the kettlebell before you press it. Well, now you've created tension in the body, right? And you run into that thing where that practice, conscious practice of it, where you're after a while you don't have to think about it. Everything fires better, fires like a unit. But all those reps you had to do to build muscle are also practice, right? They're a lot of practice, because if you're doing a lot of reps, they have to be submaximal, right? So anytime you're pushing, like you're testing, right? You're trying to see, like, set a new PR.
Yeah.
That for most people is not very good practice, because when you're close to your limit, your form starts to break down.
Right.
Right? Things compensate and move.
Yeah.
But if you're doing submaximal work, right? So let's say, sets of 5 with a weight you could do 8 with. Well, those 5 reps should be perfect, because you're not completely taxed yet.
Yeah, it sounds like, doesn't it sound then using submaximal work as your guide for strength building and strength training, isn't that better, because it's less likely you're going to get injuries?
Yeah. Oh, it is.
It's form. It's it's just excellent form, versus, when you're on the bleeding or on the edge of, I think I'm going to try and make this PR. Like, you'll naturally get stronger doing the submaximal work.
Yeah, without getting hurt.
Okay, that's cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That makes sense to me. Like, what's the point? And besides which, like, going all out, it's not always fun.
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, it's like, are you building strength, or are you demonstrating it?
Yeah.
Right. And so it takes your ego stepping back. Because everybody, like, and this is one of the things I find working out at home versus the gym, because even I'm susceptible to it, and I've been doing this a long time. But
I want to see what I can do.
Well, not what I want. It's not even just what can I do. I know what I can do. Right.
You want to show it off?
Yeah. Like, because you're in a gym with a bunch of other meatheads too.
Yeah, the testosterone is flying.
Yeah. You want to, like, okay.
You want to up the ante.
Like squatting with 185, even if maybe it's a lot of good practice.
Yeah.
No. I want 315 on there.
You want to hear the plates
clanking and, like, and that's sort of the meathead power lifter in me.
Yeah.
Whereas I'll do 10 sets of 5 double kettlebell front squats.
Yeah.
Well, it's only like 100.
You're right. It does get competitive.
Yeah.
When you're in the gym, you're showing off.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not good for your body if you want to get away from injuries.
Yeah.
What non-training stuff? We've talked a lot about training and exercise. So obviously, that's a big part of our year, and it's what happened when the COVID's here.
Yeah.
But it translates phenomenally into our adventures. So actually, I will answer this next question. I really loved mountain biking this year. Oh my God. I know I started last year.
You didn't ask the question.
I know. I just told you. My question was, what outside of training did we love? Did we learn, and, did we really enjoy this year, or did we learn something from? And for me, it was mountain biking. And, cause again, like, I had not done it since I was 18. And even then it wasn't even near what we do now. But, when you come into it as a 46-year-old, you just broke your elbow last year and you're getting into it. You're kind of worried about crashing into trees and hurting yourself. Right. But I feel so confident, I've done double blacks with you, and it's just so much fun.
Mm-hmm.
You feel like a big kid, and it's just pure joy. It's not even like exercise. And I think that's too where the training's helped. And there are times where my ass feels like I'm dragging it.
Yeah.
It's not as much fun, but for the most part, I feel like I'm back in the 80s, like a kid in the forest,
Well, and I think one of the things that I love, and this is something I love both about climbing and mountain biking, they're both perfect excuses for road trips. Not to say that going backpacking isn't, but like that, when you're going backpacking, you're like off in the woods, right? Whereas with climbing and mountain biking, we go places and we camp, obviously, but you keep wanting to discover new places.
And there's so much to be discovered.
There's
a lot of infrastructure and
and because both climbing areas, even though it's natural rock, they were developed by people, right? And so it's like, oh, what did somebody come up with over here, right?
Yeah.
And mountain bike trails are built by people.
Yeah.
So it's that kind of thing of like, oh, okay. This is really cool. Like, we obviously, because we're in like Southern Ontario, we ride at the Hydrocut. We ride at Pusslands, right? Those are our local trails. But Turkey Point,
that was fun.
Hit that a few times.
How many kilometers of trails were there?
They're 90.
Yeah.
So we barely scratched the surface in there.
We've done half of it, at least.
Oh, yeah. Then the trails up in Mono Center were a lot of fun. Those 3 different.
Yeah, they were. I think my favorite actually was the one over by that Emily Batty's from. What's that area?
Oh, Uxbridge.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Durham Forest.
That was fun. Those were the best trails I've ever ridden, because I guess they race there too, right?
Yeah.
They're nice and wide. And I will say the Don Valley was interesting, because it's a place where people also go and hike, and they have like concrete pathways, but the trails are all just adjacent to that, right?
Yeah.
In the forest. But because it's a valley, super steep, and it's actually pretty interesting ride. It's just so disjointed, unfortunately.
Yeah.
At least maybe we didn't know where the best trails were that just go endlessly, because we're so spoiled, used to trails that just are either well marked, or they go for like at least 5 kilometers or a couple kilometers of trail, and then it goes on to another one, and we're just like usually 100 kilometers of trails, right? Where these were all really disjointed, but they were tough. I have to say, I was they were the toughest trails that I've seen, honestly. Now, Quebec was the most fun. Actually, the Uxbridge was a lot of fun, but Quebec was awesome because of the culture, the place, but the trails, that Yogi Bear. Is it the Yogi Bear? That's my like challenge for next year.
Oh, just called the Yogi.
Oh, is it Yogi? Okay,
Yeah.
I thought Yogi Bear. Anyway, near Val David.
Yeah, like that one. It's either the Chanticleer or Belle-Neige. I got to look at the map to see exactly which one it was.
And by the way, we got these all from Trail Forks. That's how we found them.
Yeah.
But, and that whole area in the Laurentians near Mont Tremblant is fabulous for rock climbing and mountain biking.
Yeah.
And so that's our new playground.
Yeah.
When we can't go to the DAX. And
yeah, like give a listen to our episode on the Dirtbag Timeshare. We talk all about it.
Yeah, and when you're listening to this, we'll actually be there.
Yeah.
Because we rented a cabin on the mountain of Mont d'Argent, where we talked about our Dirtbag Timeshare. We just went back when we're taking my kids, and we're going to go snowshoeing and winter camping. And even though we have a cabin, like it's super rustic, like there's an outhouse, and it's got to be heated with a wood fire stove. So it's essentially like cold camping. Well, winter.
It's like hot tenting in a hut.
Yeah, which is great because for us that's luxurious, right?
Yeah.
But the mountain's beautiful.
Yeah.
And the kids haven't discovered that before, and it's a road trip, right? Yeah. Hopefully, COVID will stay at bay. We'll see. but I think we'll go. But that area is a lot of fun, and I just love. I'm just saying from a beginner's point of view.
When I think one of the other things Catherine likes about Quebec is I don't speak French and she does, so it's one of the rare times that I shut up. It's like all of a sudden, like she's the voice of the couple. Bonjour, blah 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 blah, and I'm like,
you're learning though, aren't you?
Not really.
Not really.
You know,
you should.
But it's,
I get it.
It's difficult to learn it outside. Like
I'm good at languages, though. I speak several, so
yeah. And you learned it in school and stuck with it, and
yeah,
you know,
lived in Belgium.
Yeah.
That's when I really learned it.
Yeah, like
no,
I've had like I have had no reason, like from a youth standpoint, until this year of going to Quebec.
Yeah.
Right? Because we would always go to the States and my whole life I would just go to the States. Right?
But you're intrigued with Quebec, aren't you?
Pardon?
You're intrigued with Quebec, aren't you?
Well, only because it's better than Ontario as far as their outdoor infrastructure goes.
I know.
Right?
Ontario's got a lot to learn. They
like
really do.
They want people.
They're so friendly.
You know.
They want you to be there. And it's so clean. And there's tons of infrastructure. It's just their way of life, you know, from all sorts of different outdoor activities. They even have highlining at this location.
Yeah, like they're not as risk averse as like Ontario parks and conservation authorities. Like, because you can't rock climb it other than Bon Echo. You can't rock climb at provincial parks. People build, and it's very much accepted. Yeah, they've got to have a different sort of approach to, like from a law standpoint, as far as liability goes. Like the idea is, you know, obviously, if you come rock climbing, it's dangerous, you morons. If you get hurt, don't blame us. It's fucking rock climbing.
Yeah, it's on you.
Yeah. So come on. Like, but that seems to be what the law is.
Yeah.
So then it means more places are open.
Yeah.
Because they're not all worried about that.
No, they're not. It's really cool. The hiking, you know, whatever was easy was really an intermediate. So everything was harder than what it really, you know.
Yeah, because even the mountain bike trails
were the same.
Like the intermediate, the blue trail.
Were they blue? And you said that they were double black or black?
No. So, like when we went to, whatchamahoo's the Belle Neige, we'll call it that.
Sure. Was that a blue trail?
Until we got right to the very top of that climb, which took us a bunch of different trails. Mm-hmm. You know, where we climbed for 2 kilometers.
Yeah.
That was all blue.
Oh wow!
Right, we got into some blacks.
Yeah.
And then, you know,
a
little bit on that one double black diamond.
It's graded harder or easier than what we're used to.
Yeah.
So what outside of training this year has been like memorable for you?
I think in a weird way, but it also ties back to training is you moving.
Yeah.
Right. But, you know, but it obviously gave us being in a house rather than an apartment. It
More
gave
space.
us a place to mount our pull-up bar to the wall.
Yeah.
A place to have dogs.
And there's Winston Jr. here.
Yes. Right now we're looking after a dog named Winston.
It gets really confusing. So if you hear some commotion, that's why. He's an 8-year-old dog, so
and he's like a big suck.
He actually looks like you. Winston's not impressed. He's got like matted fur, but then all this white whiskers all over everything. Like, so he reminds me of you. He's kind of got that wiry look. We should take a picture of you and Winston. You could be the cover of this podcast. He's just sat on the recorder.
Yeah, luckily I moved it so I didn't turn it off.
But So you just like what's memorable about this place? It's just, I guess it just really affected our workout space for sure because we got horse stall mats.
Yeah.
So our gym area now is 10 by 12.
Whereas we
10
used to
by
work.
12,
Yeah, we used to work out in the entrance of your apartment.
We made it work.
Yeah.
Yeah. But now what we've done is we've taken the living room and cut it in half essentially.
Yeah.
And half of it's a gym at the front.
And then, because we're right on the street and we can walk out the front door, like I've done loaded carry workouts just down the street. So that's sort of kind of cool. But then, we got a nice backyard. We have fires.
Oh, we have a fire pit. A great deck.
And obviously you can let the dogs run around in the backyard when you're dog sitting.
Oh my God. So yeah. So the quality of life factor has tremendously gone up.
Mm-hmm.
Don't have to deal with people in my old apartment building not wearing masks in a narrow corridor during COVID when nobody was vaccinated. That was really annoying. But no, it's just great. Like the kids all have their own rooms. They're sweet ass rooms. I gave them each loft beds and the setup's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Amanda's got a hanging swing or like a hammock chair.
Yeah, under her bed.
Her bed. Yeah, it's really cool. Plus Winston built out a really nice desk for her computer. But anyway, this location is in a super nice neighborhood. The neighbors are awesome. They all have dogs. My Rover dog sitting just skyrocketed, I think probably because I have a fenced backyard now. Yeah. And I love it. It's been great. And actually that's really contributed to my healthier lifestyle of getting more steps.
Yeah.
I got into the habit of doing like almost 10,000 steps a day. So when the dogs weren't around, I just kind of I just created a new habit in the morning, kind of like when you go walk the dog, right? So sometimes if you don't do it for yourself, do it for a dog. And, but then you get to meet all these dogs and they're just amazing. And, I love it.
So that I think was kind of cool. I'm trying to think of what other big things or interesting. I've done a lot of writing this year. Like it's definitely picked up.
Yeah.
Like writing for other people, freelance work. Doing some fun things for like, had somebody have me do some writing and they found out I had a podcast and they liked my voice. So had me do voiceover work.
Yeah.
And they've got me doing some more stuff. So that's kind of cool. So those kinds of things that keep you mentally challenged, and obviously the stuff we do ourselves, like with the podcast and the website.
Mm-hmm. This is the first year we started to monetize.
Yeah.
Which has been great. It's been a little bit. And we'd like to thank everybody who have supported us in buying their fitness equipment because, we know it's happening. So thank you.
Yeah.
We'd love to hear about how it's going.
Yeah. And if people want more like input, because I think because I saw like one of the YouTube channels I really like is Mark Wildman, who's a kettlebell and mace instructor. He's a guy who was a trainer for Hollywood movies. So he would travel to the sets to keep the actors in shape.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he looks like a farmer.
Yeah.
Got it. Yeah, he's tall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And because of COVID, he just sort of left LA and just put all his time into his YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Shooting like instructional videos like on horse farms.
Yeah.
Or just behind the back of his truck in the middle of nowhere in the mountains.
Mm-hmm.
And basically one of the cool things he's done, because he gives a lot of training ideas, and how to set up programs, is he will have viewers send in programs they created based on sort of what he's taught.
Yeah.
And then he'll sort of break them down and, make suggestions.
Yeah.
So if anybody wants that, I think that'd be kind of a cool thing for us to do.
No, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Because we've talked about a lot of different training principles.
We have.
Right. So if somebody's trying to create their own program, if you want us to analyze it or critique it or give you feedback,
Happy to. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, and you can just go
Just
to
reach out to us.
livewildradio.com, and you can just at the bottom of the homepage contact us, and then we can chat and analyze, and for anybody who gives us permission, it's the sort of thing we could actually talk about on the show, which I think would be kind of cool.
Yeah, it would be.
You know,
because everybody else has got a different perspective, which, especially if you're starting out, everybody relates to that. Mm-hmm. So it's good. Like, I've been on this journey for a bit now, right? And just discovering, reaping like the more detailed benefits of how it's all coming to fruition.
Yeah. Because I think another sort of big lesson I learned in the last year, and it's with a lot of them, they're kind of like not things I've learned for the first time, but almost like you get reminded of.
Yeah.
Is learning to have gratitude for what you have versus lamenting what you don't have. Because, and I don't know if you run into this, but like, I'm fucking sick of hearing people like go on and on about their freedom, and it's one of these things where like, don't get me wrong, I don't think the government's handled this perfectly at all. So it's not like I'm sort of an ass kisser for that sort of thing. But when we think about true hardship, right? Because a lot of people seem to have reached the end of their rope.
Yeah, this is a good point.
Where
glad you're bringing this up.
They've reached a point where they're just like, fuck it. I'm going to go to parties. I'm going to, visit. I'm going to events. I'm
having my temper tantrum now.
Yeah, I'm having my life back.
Yeah.
Right? And my life was doing shit, so I'm doing it. And, numbers are going back up. Like, pretty substantially, right? Because we have a new variant that's more contagious, it seems. The plus side, it seems to be less severe.
Yeah.
Right? Which is sort of the...
They're saying it's like Delta. It's, yeah.
Yeah. Each step gets more contagious and less severe. And that seems to be, from everything I've read, the path of viruses, right? They become more endemic, like just everywhere, but less deadly.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing. But, with so many people who've just basically reached that saturation point, right? It almost feels like, we were in a race. And it was like, man, the finish line is in sight. And people let off the gas and they're celebrating.
Before they get there.
Yeah. Because don't get me wrong. I understand, like, especially if somebody lived on their own, and the isolation and, like, I'm not downplaying the mental health challenges that'll definitely have been there. And the fortunate situation we're in, because we limited our bubble dramatically.
We really did.
Basically just to us.
Yeah, but you never hung out with other people before. Did you?
No, but I would do stuff.
Yeah.
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 And we limited that for a long time.
We did. But as a couple, yes, we did limit it pretty substantially. There are very few people we'd see, and we don't even see them hardly ever.
And we wouldn't, until we were vaccinated, we wouldn't see anybody indoors. And
no, we wouldn't.
No. And we would question, even the people we would see, where have you been? And, so we took it seriously.
We did. Yeah.
But the fact is that you and I enjoy each other's company.
Yeah.
Right. So in that sense, we understand how we're fortunate.
We are.
But one of the things that sort of always, I guess, kind of, uh, irked me, if we'll say, is that kind of reaction from people where this, for a lot of people, is sort of the biggest, thing that's happened in their life, right? Like, I'm not talking about like events, but like as far as a worldwide public thing, it's the biggest thing that's happened in my life.
Sure.
Right? Because people might talk about 9/11 or, obviously the death toll from this has been higher. It's affected
everybody
part of the world, right? Because if you think like the U.S. and allies have been sort of at war, for 20 years. But it's not something that affects any of us. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So it's not real on a day-to-day basis. Like, this is sort of that thing that has affected everybody. But if you think about, okay, it's like we have this bad thing. And, at least here in Canada, the government was kind of on top of, okay, we're going to shut a bunch of businesses down. And this is just in the beginning, okay? Like how they've handled things long term, again, not a big fan. But this is more about the people, right? Like us civilians. It's like, this is the most severe health thing that's happened. We need you to stay home and watch Netflix.
There should be a meme.
Right. Well, there. I've seen them before.
Yeah,
but that fundamentally, like if you think about World War II, we need you to do your part.
Yeah.
Like if you weren't going and fighting, you were working in the factories or you were collecting, scrap metal or.
But most people suffer death because of war.
Yeah.
This isn't war.
Like it's one of those things where it's like, we need you to wash your hands, and not lick the doorknobs,
not spit,
and have some more Uber Eats. You know what I mean? Like it for many people. Like you've worked from home pretty much for a year and a half.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I have.
For you ended up saving money.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, no, I was in that fortunate camp for sure. It's been great. I in terms of staying home, like a lot of people who are in that situation, it's an opportunity to work out. It's an opportunity, especially when your kids are at home with you, to have some extra quality, have lunch with them on your lunch breaks, like go out, do something. And you kind of have to, especially if they're young, to burn off energy because otherwise they're going crazy. So, like you got to kind of look for, you always got to look for the silver lining. And honestly, being outdoors is huge. The training has been huge. It's given me something to project on. Yeah. Right. Especially when the climbing gyms were closed or the gyms were closed. Right. So that mountain biking, I felt like it was like an escape. You can go anywhere. Yeah. Anything outdoors. It's good for you. Even in the winter, find something to do. And the temperature change is great for you, from inside to outside. I'm glad you brought that up because mental health is definitely a thing, with COVID, and it brings out a lot of, maybe insecurities or issues that you might have that you didn't realize, that you've been kind of burying away.
And I think if people's domestic situation, right? The relationship, it was sort of going, but it wasn't that great. And now you're stuck with that person.
Oh God.
Yeah,
it's bad. It's not good. That's
like we're not talking like violence or anything like that. Like that could happen to some, but I'm just talking the people whose lives were busy enough that they sort of, both people sort of tolerated the relationship, we'll say.
Yeah.
Well, then now you actually got to sit and talk. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so those things I could picture being hard.
Hard, but also a huge opportunity if people are willing to like look at themselves. If here's some piece of advice that I'm going to give, because it's I learned a lot from the breakdown of my marriage, but it's always two to tango, right? And I'm not suggesting people's marriages are breaking up, but I'm just saying.
Although the statistics would indicate.
But, you know, it takes two to tango. You can't change another person. You can change yourself. Mm-hmm. Take the time to delve into some uncomfortable conversations with your partner, but also with yourself. And it takes time, you know, to unpack that. But when you do, it's going to be, you'll be better off for it. And, you know, yeah, I think that's just something hugely worthwhile doing. And I'm constantly, you know, there's always something new.
Yeah. You know,
I had some, you know, difficult personalities to deal with this year and incredibly stressful. And, you know, so I learned through exposure over and over, and, you know, getting comfortable with being uncomfortable, like, makes things a lot easier. And,
well, and when you're faced with something challenging, one of the things I find highly effective is, break it down in your head to what the very worst case scenario is.
Yeah.
Right. Because a lot of times, you know, it's the fear and anticipation.
Oh, it's the worst.
That are the killer.
Yeah.
Right. And
it is.
And, you know, obviously in our longevity episodes talked about stress.
Yeah.
Well, this is sort of one of the tools that I found very effective for reducing a lot of stress, is if you break down what the very worst case scenario is, right? And then would you survive it? Mm-hmm. Right? Can, you know, and then game plan out how you survive it.
Or can you beat them up?
Yeah.
That's what wins this. Well, you could take them. What do you got to worry about?
Yeah. Well, that you know, it's funny because that one has always been one that's sort of in my head too. You know, less so as like a, you know, middle-aged dude now, but but that was something when I was younger, was I would say, like, somebody at the bank, right? You know, you're applying for a business loan. And it's like, oh, okay, I'm kind of nervous, but I would have the thing in my head is like, yeah, but could I take them? Yeah, well, what do I got to be nervous about? And then it's just a way to, like, manage my own anxiety.
Yeah.
Right. And then I would go in and sound, you know, smart and confident or whatever, because they gave me the business loan. But that was always one of those things when you go into something, you want to disarm whatever causes you anxiety.
Yeah. Definitely thinking through the worst case scenario and what you would do.
Yeah, because then
the way to go.
The odds of it being the worst case scenario are very low.
Yeah.
So if it's the worst case scenario and you can come up with a plan on how to handle it, well, then you can come up with a plan how to handle anything less than that. Yeah. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, that's not so bad.
In my experience with people, or even just challenges, we tend to be our own worst enemy.
Yeah.
And we make mountains out of molehills. We really do. And that's why, as I said earlier, my biggest successful characteristic about myself is just having that lackadaisio attitude, like, oh, let's go see what this is about. Let's try.
No pressure.
Let's try it. Like tonight's workout, like at first I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to do this. I'm like, oh, let's try. Let's see how far I get. I got it done. You'll surprise yourself, and that's fun.
Yeah.
And that's actually one of the most rewarding gifts of my new body, whatever, is revisiting things that I haven't done in years. And you're like, oh.
Well, let's try it out.
On that note, I think that's a great way to end the episode.
Yeah.
And the year. Just going to 2023.
2022.
Did I say 20? Just skip a year.
If we were going to skip any, it should have been 2020.
I know. And just, going with an attitude of
Just try it.
Great possibilities. I'm not even drunk.
Yeah.
Should have been drunk. Doesn't take much.
No. Yeah, so want to thank everybody for listening over the last year. We're really looking forward to the next year of episodes.
Mm-hmm.
This is sort of a fun thing, immortalizing your own
growth, really.
Yeah.
Because that's what we do. So I'm sure next year will be something different too.
Well, and I think one of the cool things for everybody is just life is short. Find things you love and you're passionate about. Do them. Get outside. Lift heavy stuff. Sweat. It's not complicated. Eat protein. Eat vegetables. Get a good night's sleep. There's a recipe, a very simple recipe for...
And relax.
Happiness and health. So until next...
22.
Yeah. So until next time, I'm Winston.
I'm Catherine.
And remember to work hard.
And play dirty.